going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 82 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast on this Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. I'm your host, Zach Malamud. Before we get started, please subscribe below. Follow all of my social accounts. Let's start things off in the world of baseball as both New York teams were in action this weekend. And let's start things off with the red-hot New York Mets, who have won 12 of their last 15 games and now have a 4.5-game cushion in the National League East. They're playing very well, and really, I think the big part of it for this Mets team is their offense has woken up, and it really was slumping, you would say, for a good part of May, and they really were not putting up runs, and obviously that was a struggle for them. Finally, now you're looking at this Mets offense, and they are rolling right now. 10 of these 12 wins have come with 5 or more runs scored by the New York Mets, and that's a really recipe for success. Their pitching as well has been phenomenal, you would say. Probably not in those losses, the couple to the Dodgers and then that one to the White Sox. Their pitching didn't step up in those 3 games, but the other 12, I mean, they've given their team a chance. This bullpen has been really strong. This starting rotation, even through injuries to Sean Manaea, Frankie Montas, both ruled out for a while earlier in the season, they've still stepped up, and now it seems like they could go to a 6-man rotation. They're maybe flirting with that right now as they have a bunch of guys coming back from injury. They had Paul Blackburn return in the last week or so from an injury, and obviously he's been strong and got the save, ended up getting the save on Sunday afternoon against Colorado in a 13-5 win. But then you look at the rest of this Mets pitching staff. Griffin Canning's been strong. Tyler McGill has bounced back after a rough May. You also had Clay Holmes, who's really converted into a starter and has had no problem at all doing that. So obviously this Mets team is in a great spot right now with injured players coming back in that starting rotation. If they keep this up, they could be the best rotation in baseball, and that'll be a big key for the Mets in the later months of this season. But like I said, this offense is stepping up now. I know they're playing some weak pitching staffs. They went up against Colorado twice. They also played Chicago, but they did it against the Dodgers. They had some great contributions by their star players, and they had Francisco Lindor go out with an injury in that Wednesday game against Los Angeles, but they won that game 6-1 in comfortable fashion. It's been Pete Alonso who's been tremendous so far in the month of June, and he's really stepped up on this road trip. He had a lot of home runs, a lot of RBIs. The big thing is runners in scoring position. Whenever he gets an opportunity, it is going to lead to success for Pete Alonso, and you cannot say that about some of those other star players on this Mets team. Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor have struggled with runners in scoring position. They've done a lot better when there are no runners on base. Pete Alonso is the complete opposite. He's been tremendous when there's runners on. He's been able to bring them in, doubles, singles, home runs, whatever you need. Pete Alonso has stepped up so far, and he obviously passed David Wright the other day for second all-time on the Mets home run list with 243 home runs, passing 242 from David Wright. So a big achievement for Pete, but he's not done, as Darryl Strawberry at 252. Pete needs 10 more home runs, and it seems like he could get it maybe by the end of the month with how well he's playing right now. Obviously, there's going to be some pitchers that stay away from him and don't give him those opportunities, but then you have some other guys in the lineup, and obviously they're going to have to step up behind him. I don't think they're going to end up pitching to Pete as much anymore because they know that Soto has gotten his hits, but he's not gotten that power really down just yet as a Met, and Lindor obviously is going to do anything and everything as a leadoff hitter. You're trying to avoid him, but it's hard to do that in the first batter of the game. Pete Alonso's now in the spot where I think maybe pitchers avoid throwing him some meatballs and throwing him some good pitches. I think they avoid throwing him anything that he can hit, and obviously that's going to be a question in the next couple of weeks. But now the Mets head into another division series as they head back home to Citi Field and take on the Washington Nationals, who have been on a roll lately since the middle of May, as they've had a nice record. Their offense has stepped up, their ERA has gone down, and they have looked pretty solid in the NL East. And obviously, this 3-game set starts tonight. A 7:10 start at Citi Field. It's going to be Griffin Canning on the mound, taking on Mackenzie Gore. Mackenzie Gore, 3-5 on the year, a 2.87 ERA, but the strikeouts are what stand out for Gore this season. 108 of them, and he's near the top of baseball in that category. He's got some really nasty pitches. His sliders worked well this year. His curveball has also worked well this year. A lot of strikeouts, and that's what the Mets are going to have to avoid. The Mets, not really a high strikeout type of team, so that's a good sign heading up against Mackenzie Gore. Gets a lot of players to chase, got a lot of whiffs induced by Mackenzie Gore so far this season. So they got Griffin Canning on the mound, the Mets do, though, and he's been really strong. And obviously, in the last start, he looked tremendous against the Los Angeles Dodgers. 6 innings with just 3 hits allowed and 7 strikeouts. That was in the Mets' 6-1 win on Wednesday evening. So we'll see what happens, but make sure you tune in tonight. Griffin Canning, Mackenzie Gore should be a great pitching matchup at Citi Field. 7:10 start. It's the Mets and the Nationals in the first game of a 3-game set. Let's move things to the other side of New York, and up in the Bronx, the New York Yankees fell to their rival Boston Red Sox 2 out of 3. And they won Friday's game 9-6 behind Will Warren's start. They really beat up on Walker Buehler in that game, and the Yankees lineup then could not have enough in the next couple of games, and it really comes down to how bad their pitching was. And Ryan Yarbrough goes out on Saturday and has his worst start by far of the season and ends up with a finishing line of the loss, 4 innings pitched, 9 hits allowed, 8 earned runs, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. 8 of the 10 runs go to Yarbrough, and that's really the downfall of this Yankees team on Saturday. They cannot make up that many runs. They expected more of Yarbrough, and he just did not step up. But obviously, he gets a pass with how well he's pitched so far this season. Record moves to 3-1, just his first loss on the year. He's allowed a bad game here and there. That's why they play 162. But yeah, it was not a great outing by Yarbrough, and an opportunity to really take advantage on the other side of Garrett Crochet, who did not have his best stuff, had his strikeout stuff, had 9 Ks in this one, but allowed a lot of hits, 6 hits allowed with 5 earned runs. And then really you look at that and say, wow, the Yankees really got to Crochet. They could win this game. But yeah, their pitching staff did not step up. And this one goes on Yarbrough, and obviously he knew that and talked about it after the game. And obviously the Yankees headed into Sunday's game, where you look at now against Boston, you're expecting to win this series. You got Rodon on the mound. He's been great lately. And then we got the former version of Carlos Rodon, the one that you saw earlier in the season to start the season in March and April. And he showed up again just in the middle of June this time. It's an 11-7 Red Sox win, and Carlos Rodon charged with the loss. He's now 8-4 on the season. He's pitched 5 innings in this one, just 3 hits allowed. That's always the case with Rodon. But the 5 earned runs from the 3 hits, had 3 walks as well. That didn't help, and really got into some trouble when it got into that 6th inning. And that really was the difference overall for this Red Sox team, who end up getting the win on Sunday night. They got to feel happy. They end up winning the series at Yankee Stadium, but the Red Sox still need some work, and obviously they have their lineup, who they're dealing with a couple of injuries, with Alex Bregman not available in this series, and they still managed to get some good contributions from their lineup. Christian Campbell, who a lot of Red Sox fans coming in said, yeah, he's struggling. They don't want him. They don't want him in the lineup right now. He was great this series and really stepped up in the absence of Alex Bregman. So Trevor Story as well on Sunday night was a big part of that. Got his solo home run. And then you also had Carlos Novaes, Abraham Toro going long in this game. 4 home runs for the Red Sox, or actually 5 home runs for the Red Sox if you had Devers in the 9th inning. And obviously an 11-7 win for the Red Sox over the Yankees. And the Yankees bullpen is not something to freak out about just yet. I know people will look at this loss and say, well, the Yankees bullpen let up 6 runs, and that's really a big difference in the game. Understandable, but this Yankees bullpen has been great year after year after year. I understand when people say maybe it's getting a little thin due to the injury of Luke Weaver. Yeah, that's every bullpen in baseball. I don't think the Yankees are completely worried just yet about their bullpen. They also had Hedrick come into the game, and he's more of that long reliever that can grab a couple innings for them. Not really one of their star relievers, and he's going to give up runs here and there. He's just a guy who's going to eat up innings. And when you look at the rest of this Yankees bullpen, Fernando Cruz will get settled once again. I understand that he did not have his best stuff on Sunday evening, but then you also have Tim Hill, who's been really strong year after year. Loaizaga has yet to settle in, but it will just take a little bit of time, and he's coming back from a long injury spell, so he'll be all right. And then you got Ian Hamilton, who's not the greatest, but then you have the rest of the bullpen with Devin Williams, and then Luke Weaver, who comes back from injury whenever it happens. Devin Williams is really strong at the back end of the bullpen. I know people get worried about Devin Williams when he goes up on the mound, but he's been really solid recently, and the Yankees have to trust him with that closer role. He could really lock things down and get into a mojo, and that's going to be a big sign for the Yankees in the absence of Weaver. But I wouldn't freak out about this bullpen just yet. It's a lot of time, and there's going to be a lot of arms that go in and out due to injury and whatever it is. Maybe they could get a bullpen arm by the deadline. That's going to be a question, obviously, for Brian Cashman and his staff. But right now, I would not freak out just yet about this bullpen. They've been really strong year after year, and they got a lot of players who can really step up for them in the absence of Luke Weaver. So the Yankees end up losing this series to the Red Sox, and it doesn't mean as much to this Yankees team as it means to the Yankee faithful, the Yankee fans. And that's really the difference in this series. 162 games. They're going to drop a series here and there. It was a disappointing series for the pitching staff in the end. 6 runs allowed, then 11 runs allowed, and 10 runs allowed in the 3 games. And just not good enough there if you are the Yankees. So they got to figure that out. And obviously, they have Max Fried to really settle and calm the nerves on the mound tonight. He's going to take on the Kansas City Royals, whose offense has not been good so far this season. They've really struggled to hit home runs, and Max Fried said, yep, that's fine with me. He'll get ground balls. He'll try and keep things in the park. And yeah, the Royals can move runners on the bases, but Max Fried comes into this game with an 8-1 record, a 1.78 ERA, and the strikeouts are up. The whip is looking good, and he's not allowed too many men on base. And yeah, he came against the Los Angeles Dodgers a couple weeks ago in that Friday game on May 30th, where he got beat up, his only bad start this season and his first loss of the season. And what a way to bounce back like he did midweek Thursday against Cleveland, where he had a 4-0 win for the Yankees. 6 innings with just 1 hit allowed, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. And 103 pitches for Max Fried, looking really strong, and that's a way to calm the nerves. Now he's got to calm the nerves about this Yankees rotation as he goes up against this Royal squad in Kansas City tonight. It's going to be Noah Cameron, the lefty, on the mound for Kansas City. He's 2-1 this year with a .85 ERA, and it looks like the Royals could try and eat up innings here for Noah Cameron and then settle things down with their bullpen. And obviously the Yankees will try and take advantage of that. The Yankees lineup still looking strong, put up plenty of runs, so far this weekend against Boston. And obviously they're going to look to do so in a rematch of the American League Championship Series, or the American League Division Series, against the Kansas City Royals. So we'll see what happens. Make sure you tune in tonight. 7:40 start. It's the Yankees and the Royals in Kansas City. Let's finish things off today in the NBA. And obviously the New York Knicks are looking for their next head coach, and they relieved Tom Thibodeau of his duties last week. And the Knicks roster and the Knicks coaching staff had their exit meetings, and that's really what it came down to in the decision to let go of Tom Thibodeau. But as for the coaching search, there's been a lot of names swirling around, and really we're going to eliminate a fair amount of them in the last week or so, in the last couple of days or so even. You look at the Rockets and Ime Udoka, he's not going to be interviewing for the Knicks job. The Rockets have no intent of letting him go as their head coach. They also looked at some other names. The Timberwolves with Chris Finch, he's on the Knicks radar, but really no moves just yet. They obviously have the connection to Villanova, Jay Wright and his crew, and really bring the Nova gang back together. That's not going to happen, as Stefan Bondi as well as Ian Begley confirmed it that Jay Wright will not be a candidate for the Knicks head coaching job. Very happy in retirement, and said, yeah, politely, no thank you. I'm not interested. And that's really what it comes down to when it comes to Danny Hurley as well. The college game, he's probably not going to switch and go to New York, although it would be very exciting. Really arguably the best coach on the planet in Danny Hurley right now. It's just not going to happen for the New York Knicks. And then you look at the rest of the crew, and the big question marks are, will the Knicks be able to take a head coach that does not have a lot of experience on their hands and does not have any head coaching experience in the NBA? Will that happen? Then you start coming up with names like Johnny Bryant, who was obviously a former Knicks assistant coach under Tom Thibodeau. Again, talked about it on the last episode. It just does not make sense to me that the Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau and they can all of a sudden just go out and get Johnny Bryant when he was on the staff just a year ago. If you knew that you were going to get rid of Tom Thibodeau, if you just had a bad feeling on Tom Thibodeau, then you should have let him go, and then Johnny Bryant takes over. Just does not make sense. And of course, yes, it came down to the Knicks made it further, and that should be even more of a reason to keep Tom Thibodeau. But who knows what the Knicks are thinking right now with James Dolan in those exit meetings, and obviously Leon Rose made the decision. And when you look at the rest of the coaching candidates, I think the big one on Knicks fans' radar right now is Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd, obviously the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks as we speak, and had some questionable moves. Of course, Nico Harrison trading Luka Doncic. The Mavs then dealt with a lot of injuries towards the end of the season. Kyrie Irving went out. Anthony Davis was out for a while. So the Mavs did not make the playoffs, and Jason Kidd could look for another move, and maybe that is the move to New York and being the next head coach of the New York Knicks. I am okay with the move of Jason Kidd as the next head coach. The one thing I will say about Jason Kidd is now you have to really translate to his game, and that's going to take a little bit of time for this Knicks team. The other thing about that is you want, as a Knicks fan, you want a coach that just gets you excited. It gets you excited about Knicks basketball, gets you excited about this team, and the fact that this team could go really far, maybe go to an NBA Finals, and hopefully win a championship one day. You want a coach that gets you excited. I just don't think Jason Kidd really gets Knicks fans all that excited. It could be a good coach, and he's a great former player, and he's good. He's been a solid coach in his years in Milwaukee and in Dallas. But if you're looking for a coach to get the fans rolling, get the fans excited, I just don't know if Jason Kidd is the right guy to do that. In terms of the defense is not going to get any better than it was with Tom Thibodeau. And Tom Thibodeau has tried to preach that to his star players. Brunson and Towns did not play much defense in the Eastern Conference Finals against Indiana, and that was a big problem for the Knicks. Is Jason Kidd all of a sudden going to change that? I'm not sure. I think that's really what it comes down to. He's got to translate to those star players. I'm not doubting that he can do that. I think that's one of the big parts about Jason Kidd in this type of game. However, that's going to be a big storyline for this Knicks team. Can Jason Kidd really come up big and translate to these Knicks players and obviously help them on the defensive side? That's going to be the question for the Knicks, and we'll see what happens. But Jason Kidd, really the top candidate right now, next to Johnny Bryant. as the next head coach for the New York Knicks. So we'll see what happens, but make sure you tune in next episode and we'll have more news as the Knicks look for their next head coach and hopefully a guy that can bring them far into the NBA playoffs next season. But that will do it for episode 82 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast. Please subscribe below. I've been Zach Malum. Thanks for watching and talk to you all on Thursday.